Welcome to the Daily Decant, your 5-minute briefing on the world of wine. Each episode delivers practical insights to help you choose, order, and talk about wine with more confidence in everyday social settings. Let's get into today's Decant. It's Friday, and we are wrapping up Tuscany week. Today's episode is deliberately about everything that has been overshadowed by Chianti Classico, Brunello, and the Super Tuscans. Because the remarkable thing about Tuscany is not that it has 3 famous wine zones, it's that it has a dozen wine zones of real quality, several of which consistently offer better value than the famous names, and most of which remain genuinely underexplored even by serious wine drinkers. Vino Nobile di Montepulciano. Let's start here because this wine has the most interesting history and the most straightforward value argument. Montepulciano is a medieval hilltop town in the southeastern Tuscany, about 45 miles south of Florence. The wine made here from Sangiovese, locally called Brunello Gentile, has been celebrated since at least the 17th century. In 1685, the poet Francesco Redi called it the king of all wines, and the title Vino Nobile has been used since the 18th century. Today it holds DOCG status, requires at least 18 months of aging, including 12 months in oak, and produces wine of genuine character, slightly fuller and earthier than Chianti Classico, with a characteristic dusty tannin, cherry and plum fruit, and a savory herbal quality that makes it one of the most food-friendly red wines in Tuscany. And it sells at entry level for $15 to $25, regularly undercutting comparable Chianti Classico by a significant margin. Producers to know include Poliziano, the most recognized name in the zone internationally, consistently producing well-made Vino Nobile at fair prices, Avignonesi, for more ambitious, biodynamically farmed expression, Morellino di Scansano, one of Tuscany's newer DOCG designations awarded in 2007, covering a zone in the Maremma, the coastal lowlands of southern Tuscany, that were historically used for cattle grazing rather than viticulture, and that are only now being recognized as genuinely interesting wine country. The coastal lowlands of southern Tuscany, where Sangiovese, locally called Morellino, produces a warmer, fuller, and more immediately approachable style than the cooler hillside expressions. The Maremma is a fascinating part of Tuscany to follow because it's a genuinely interesting, emerging wine zone. Land prices are lower, ambitious producers are moving in, and the wines are improving dramatically with each passing year. Entry-level Morellino at $12 to $18 is some of the best value in Tuscan red wine. Producers to know here are Eric Banti for excellent basic Morellino and Sassotondo for a more serious estate-focused approach in the zone. Vernaccia di San Gimignano, the white wine of Tuscany and Italy's first DOC designation, awarded in 1966. San Gimignano is a medieval hilltop town famous for its towers and visible for miles across the Sienese landscape, and for the Vernaccia grape that has been cultivated on the sandy mineral soils around it for centuries. Vernaccia produces dry white wine with a distinctive almond bitter finish, citrus and stone fruit flavors, and a kind of textural weight that distinguishes it from lighter Italian wines. At its best, from producers like Panizzi or Montenedoli, it's one of the most interesting and individual white wines in all of Italy. The broader Maremma and coastal Tuscany, the Bolgheri coast, which we covered extensively in the Super Tuscan episodes, extends into a broader coastal wine culture that includes several other interesting producers and zones. White wine, particularly Vermentino and Viognier, is increasingly significant on the coast, where the maritime influence and more suit aromatic white varieties that would struggle in the cooler inland hillsides. And then the broader Maremma zone, particularly around Pitigliano and Saturnia, contains fascinating old vine Sangiovese and native white varieties that are only now attracting the attention of quality-focused producers. The practical takeaway from today is that the best value in Tuscan wine is almost never the famous names. Vino Nobile at $20, Morellino at $15, Vernaccia at $14. These are genuinely characterful, historically resonant wines that taste of Tuscany as clearly as any Brunello or Gran Selezione Chianti Classico, at prices that make them everyday options rather than special occasion splurges. And there is a broader argument here worth making explicit. The reason that these wines are underpriced is not that they are inferior to the famous names. It's that they haven't attracted the same level of international critical attention, collector demand, or marketing investment. The wine in the glass from a serious Vino Nobile producer has every right to be on your table next to any Chianti Classico at twice the price. Knowing this is the whole point of following a show like this one. Tomorrow, we'll talk about how to buy Tuscan wine without overpaying. You won't want to miss it. That's today's Daily Decant. If you found this helpful, be sure to subscribe and share with your friends so you can continue building your wine knowledge in just a few minutes a day. We'll see you tomorrow for the next Decant.